Well, farmers, like most U.S. businesses, operate in a global marketplace. Farmers not only want to know what's going on in neighboring states, but they also want to know what's going on around the country. One rice farmer from Columbus, Texas, has logged his share of air miles, helping the U.S. improve its farm exports. He is American Farm Bureau President Bob Stallman, and this week in Louisiana Agriculture's Johnna Miller is standing by with Mr. Stallman to tell us more about our farmer-to-farmer tour. Johnna?
Thanks, Mike. As you said, we are wrapping up a 10-day trip down here in South and Central America. We've been learning a lot about agriculture, and of course, we've been focused on the free trade agreements. Joining me now is American Farm Bureau President Bob Stallman. Bob, talk about the purpose of the trip.
Well, we actually have multiple reasons for doing these trips as an organization. American Farm Bureau Federation thinks it's important to have an international flavor to the work we do. So a trip like this is focused really on three things. First, to learn about agriculture that is in the country that we're visiting, to see how it relates to U.S. agriculture. Two, to develop some lasting relationships with other organizations that are similar to ours in these countries, other farmers and ranchers, getting to know them. And then the third is to listen to government officials, visit with government officials to talk about the various trade policies between our country and their country, and determine a path forward, if you will, as to how we can improve agricultural trade policy.
So what really have you learned about agriculture in these countries?
Well, it's interesting. It depends on the country. If you take Brazil, Brazil is both a partner and a very strong competitor to the United States in terms of agricultural products. They have a very efficient, large-scale agriculture, and in the international marketplace, it's our goods against their goods. But that's good because it keeps us both, farmers and ranchers in both countries, on their toes, if you will. It causes us to be more efficient as to how we produce. Other countries, Colombia being an example, our agriculture is complementary. They need the goods that we produce, soybeans, corn, wheat, and yet there are products that they produce, such as coffee and bananas and, frankly, cut flowers that fit very well in terms of them having an export market to the United States. So this is a situation where we're not so much competitors as we are complementary to each other in terms of producing agricultural products. So it varies from country to country.
You talked about building relationships with the farmers in these countries. What's the value of that when they're thousands of miles away?
Well, there's two things really. One is that our farmers and ranchers can have a greater understanding of agriculture and how farmers and ranchers deal with the agricultural problems in their country, whether it's problems created by government, whether it's production problems, whether it's market problems. And it's interesting to compare notes with these farmers and ranchers, because when you strip all of the, the different country aspects away from some of these issues, the reality is we all face the same challenges.
You spoke about the importance of getting these free trade agreements with Colombia and Panama passed in the Congress. What's the outlook for that? What's the status at this point?
Well, right now, our Congress has not had the free trade agreements, the three, the Korea FTA, the Colombia FTA, and the Panama FTA. They have not been presented to Congress by President Obama. That's the first step. The administration has to send these agreements to Congress for ratification. So we're still awaiting that process. And it's really a jobs and economic issue, because every $1 billion worth of added agricultural exports create 9,000 direct jobs. And so at a time when we're worried about the economy of our country, worried about job growth, it just makes absolute sense for us to pass these agreements. In addition, for a country such as Colombia, that is a real strong partner of the United States, we need to maintain that friendship and partnership in this area of the world, in South America, where other countries are not so friendly to the United States these days, such as Venezuela and Bolivia. We need to have partners down here to be sure that, somehow the attitudes that are developing in these other countries don't spread to the rest of South America. And we can do that by being a strong partner of Colombia. Colombia has expectations that we should pass this agreement because they agreed to it, signed it, and it passed their legislature. And that's a correct expectation. It's upon us to do our job now and pass the Colombia FTA and then move forward.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, Bob. And Mike, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on what happens with these free trade agreements in Washington, D.C. Back to you.
Thanks, Johnna. A lot more to come on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, including Kristen Oakes in her Ag Minute gives us the history of the world's most famous canal. And when Twyla travels out of the country, well, we never know who we're going to meet. Stay with us.